It begins with a quiet ache, not the kind that demands attention, but the kind that lingers, reminding you that time has been walking beside you for many years. Perhaps it's in the knees when you stand after sitting too long, or in the hands that once moved effortlessly, now slower, more careful. You might notice it while reaching for a cup of tea, or while tending to the small garden that still gives you joy. The pain isn't sudden. It's been arriving like twilight, softly, day after day. And though you've learned to live with it, there are moments you wonder, must growing older always feel like this? You remember a time when comfort came in the form of pills. White, round, and silent, they promised relief. And sometimes they did bring it. But with the passing years, you've also seen how the body, wise and weary, grows tired of chemicals that promise much and heal little. Somewhere deep down, you've started to yearn for something gentler, something that speaks the language of your own body. Because healing, at this stage in life, isn't just about removing pain. It's about restoring harmony, the kind that once existed between you and the earth. There's a certain peace in realizing that nature has always been whispering remedies to us, even when we weren't listening. Leaves, roots, seeds, quiet healers that ask for nothing but trust. Long before pills existed, our ancestors sought their comfort in herbs that carried not just medicinal value, but a kind of spiritual tenderness. They believed that nature's medicine didn't fight the body, it guided it back to balance. So maybe this is where your journey now leads, not to another prescription, but to the gentle wisdom of plants. The same wisdom that has soothed aching joints for centuries without demanding a toll on the rest of the body. The same wisdom that feels less like treatment and more like conversation between you, your pain, and the natural world that still holds you. As the evening sun stretches across the window and your joints hum their familiar tune, perhaps you'll begin to wonder what other forms of healing await in the roots, flowers, and leaves that grow quietly around us. Because sometimes the answers we seek aren't in the things we buy, but in the things we've forgotten to remember. There's a kind of memory in the earth, an ancient one, carried in the roots of every plant that's ever grown. Each leaf, each petal, each seed holds the quiet story of how nature has cared for the human body long before doctors had names for our aches. Maybe that's why so many of us, in the later seasons of life, feel drawn back to the simplicity of herbs. Because when the body begins to slow, it no longer craves quick fixes. It seeks gentleness. It seeks balance. Think of the warmth of a cup of ginger tea, not the kind you drink in haste, but the one you hold with both hands, letting its heat seep into your fingers before it reaches your bones. Ginger isn't just a spice, it's an old friend. It stirs the blood, wakes up the joints, and reminds your body what movement used to feel like. There's wisdom in its bite, a fire that doesn't burn, but heals. Many have found that a little ginger in the morning feels like telling your body, wake up softly, the day is kind. Then there's turmeric, golden as the setting sun. For centuries, it's been known as the root of renewal, the gentle warrior against inflammation. You might sprinkle it on your breakfast or stir it into warm milk before bed, and it does more than ease the stiffness in your knees. It teaches the body how to remember comfort. Its warmth seeps deep into the joints like forgiveness, patient, gradual, unhurried. Nature, after all, doesn't rush. And sometimes, healing is not only about what we take, but how we take it. A cup of green tea in the still of morning, or a few drops of peppermint oil rubbed into the skin can feel like a ritual of care. Each of these small moments, the sound of water boiling, the scent rising from the cup, the slow first sip, becomes a kind of prayer. Not for youth, but for ease. You begin to realize that these herbs are not magic, they are memory. Memory of an older way of healing, one that honors both pain and patience. They remind us that our bodies are not machines to be fixed, but gardens to be tended. And when you listen to what nature has been saying all along, you may discover that the best remedies don't silence pain, they help you make peace with it. There comes a point in every healing journey when you realize that pain is not the enemy, it's the messenger. It speaks softly at first, then louder, until you finally pause long enough to listen. For many seniors, that message is not just about joints or muscles, it's about how gently we treat ourselves. We've spent so much of life moving forward, working, caring, enduring, that we've forgotten the art of slowing down, of tending to the body as if it were sacred. Joint pain, in its quiet persistence, becomes a reminder. This vessel of yours has carried you through decades of love, labor, laughter, and loss. Perhaps now it is simply asking for kindness in return. As you stir a pot of herbal tea or massage a bit of rosemary oil into your knees, there's an intimacy in these small acts. You are not merely treating pain, you are comforting the part of yourself that has worked so hard to keep you upright. Herbs like boswellia, sometimes called the frankincense of the body, move through the joints like a breeze through old trees, easing tension where stiffness once lived. Devil's claw, with its strange and beautiful name, comes from the African plains, a plant that has been helping elders walk with grace for generations. These natural healers don't just soothe the body, they speak to the spirit, reminding you that healing is an act of partnership, not resistance. There's beauty in that shift, from fighting pain to understanding it, from hiding discomfort behind medication to meeting it with patience and care. You begin to see the body not as something that's failing, but as something that's faithfully doing its best, every day, even when it hurts. Each cup of herbal tea, each drop of oil, each slow stretch before dawn becomes a small ceremony of gratitude. You are not chasing youth anymore. You are nurturing the life you still hold. And somewhere in the middle of this gentle rhythm, between the scent of turmeric and the warmth of ginger, between the stillness of your hands and the memory of motion, you start to realize that healing doesn't always mean being pain-free. Sometimes it means being at peace with what remains. It means honoring the body's limits while still choosing to move, to care, to live softly. Because the herbs don't promise to erase time, they simply teach you how to walk with it. There's a gentle wisdom that arrives when we stop seeing remedies as cures and start seeing them as companions. Herbs, after all, have been part of the earth's quiet language since before we could write our own names. They ask for no praise, no recognition, only that we use them with respect and patience. In this slower rhythm of living, you begin to understand something deeper. Healing, especially at this stage of life, isn't about chasing perfection or youth. It's about creating harmony between body and nature, between pain and peace, between what you've lost and what still remains beautifully yours. When you sip a cup of chamomile infused with a hint of ginger, you might notice how it warms your chest before it eases your joints. That's the body's way of saying, I remember.
Because herbs don't just travel through your blood, they travel through memory. They carry the scent of the gardens your parents once tended, the spices your grandmother used in her soups, the old remedies whispered by elders who trusted the land more than laboratories. Each plant, from turmeric's golden glow to willow bark's ancient calm, holds a story that stretches back centuries. Stories of healing, of patience, of resilience. As you grow older, you realize that these herbs mirror your own journey. They have endured storms, heat, and drought, yet they continue to grow, to offer life to others. You too have weathered life's seasons. Your body, like the earth, carries the marks of time, but also the wisdom that comes only through endurance. When you choose herbal remedies, you are not just seeking relief, you are entering a quiet partnership with nature, trusting that what grows in the soil can still heal what aches in the soul. And in this understanding, something shifts. The stiffness in your hands feels less like a burden and more like a story, one written by years of holding, building, comforting, creating. Pain may still come and go, but it no longer feels like an enemy. It feels like a reminder to move gently, to rest deeply, to nourish the body with the same care you once gave to everyone else. You begin to see that true healing has always been less about fighting pain and more about learning how to live kindly beside it. There's a quiet kind of grace that comes when you learn to live with your body instead of against it. Mornings become gentler, not rushed, not filled with expectation, but held with the same tenderness you would give to an old friend. You rise, stretch slowly, and let the light touch your skin. The kettle hums softly on the stove. The scent of turmeric and cinnamon fills the air. And in that simple ritual, something profound happens. You realize that this, too, is healing. Not a miracle, not an escape, but a rhythm, a conversation between your soul and the body that carries it.
You might not notice it at first, how the herbs begin to do their quiet work. The stiffness eases, the aches soften, and though pain may never vanish completely, it loses its grip on your spirit. You start to move more freely, breathe more deeply, rest more peacefully. And each time you stir that warm cup of tea, you remember that healing isn't about finding what you once had, but cherishing what you still have. You are not broken, you are evolving gracefully, like the changing seasons. There's beauty in accepting that the body's language changes with age. Every creak, every slow step, every sigh carries wisdom now. The herbs, with their roots deep in the soil, seem to whisper the same truth, that strength is not the absence of pain, but the courage to keep living gently despite it. And in this calm acceptance, you find something that no pill can give: peace, the kind that settles deep in the heart and says, "You've done enough. You are enough." So maybe the real remedy has always been more than what grows in the garden. Maybe it's the love you show yourself in tending to your body, the patience in your movements, the gratitude in each breath. The herbs only remind you of what you already know, that healing is not a race, but a relationship. And perhaps growing older isn't about the years we've lived, but the love we finally learned to hold.